So to begin, some technical things. Go onto your mobile-enabled device, phone or tablet, whatever, and open your browser and go to that URL. It will always be on screen. Right now it's on the top right. Right now it's on top. Just go over here, glsr.it/neuro. And once you are in, you should then be able to answer this question. The email, by the way, is meant for you to get the slides immediately after the presentation. Nothing else will be sent to you. We have 100% marketing. Those are always the fastest. I may have a misrepresentation then of the group. Who is other? Hands up for someone who's other. What are you? Okay, BI. There we go. Also BI. It's good. Glad to have you guys here. Anything else than BI who's also other? Marketing and BI. Great. It's good. I mean, it's mostly marketeers. That's what I expected. I feel like I should introduce myself. So hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Moore, CEO and co-founder of neuroflash, but also a persuader of sorts. So I've done a whole lot of competitive debating in my years. I try to optimize an approach to get the telephone number of people that previously did not know me. And I studied psychology for many years, for over 8 years, before I got into data science. You could say I'm what they call a frustrated academic, because it has always been my goal to really understand what drives people. Why do they think the things that they think? Why do they then do the things that they do? And just using, for example, this audience now would already be a large sample in academia, whereas of course in the real world, that's a tiny, tiny sample. I got very jealous of Facebook and Google, and I actually then joined them. I did some studies using Facebook data, millions and millions of those data points before Cambridge Analytica was a thing also. Even though, to be fair, Michal Kosinski, the guy who did the initial studies, also advised us on our methodology. All consenting adults that were doing our study, of course. But what I'm going to tell you is really about the combination of psychology and behavioral economics, what we would call digital psychology. I want to start with saying that marketing is in many ways a really, really weird job, because you're trying to say something without actually saying it. So you're all trying to get someone out there to, in the end, buy. But in the rarest of cases, would you say, buy this? Only at the very end you would say, buy this now, get it now. Of course, then the decision has already been made, but everything else leading to that decision, to that click of that button, is already content that should make people think, I want to buy this. Already mentioned, psychology and behavioral economics is what we're going to talk about today. And to illustrate this really weird combination of those two things, you tell me now, how long did you shower today? 10%. I'm very glad that somebody took a bath. That's awesome. Next question, equally important, how exactly did you do it? Yeah, the habits of really effective people is obviously the last one that nobody chose. Now you shock yourself awake and then you get into the flow. Very good. So why would I ask these weird questions? It's because people who shower warmer and who shower longer are also on average more lonely. And that's fun, but there's something behind it, of course, which at the end of my talk, I hope you'll understand. I'm going to talk about personalization and all of the human traits. This you won't remember anyways, but I want to make one thing very clear. What I'm going to talk to you about is not new at all, right? You see this lady, she has some stuff, people who bought this, also bought. This is something that already exists. And yes, you know, recommendations are indeed extremely helpful to get people in a certain direction, but that is pretty much solved. So why should you personalize? Why should you change your content to reach certain people in different ways? Let's imagine we have a Facebook campaign. This is an actual case. It's a beauty retailer. They are targeting women using Facebook ads, and we have two different variants, left and right. So, since you're all marketeers, which one do you think works better? Can I ask you, BI, what did you choose? He chose left. So the right one is actually the one. So on average, that one has 35% higher conversion on average. However, which one works better for introverts? Take a look again. Whoa, that's a very even split. Slight favor for right. So in fact, let me remove this. Extroverts see a 75% increase for the left image, and introverts are 45% higher on the right. So we have two things to keep in mind here, right? There's one that seems to get the audience better, which is the right one. But if you can target to either the extroverts or the introverts, then you're going to see these increases. The way that they did it, by the way, is using this Cambridge Analytica insights in a way, because obviously the papers have been published and they're very well done, where you can see which likes on Facebook indicate whether a certain group of people is more extroverted or introverted. And if you use that for your targeting, well, now you can use some type of personalization to get higher results. Critically, it's not only the image, of course. They also use text. So they're going to say something like dance like no one's watching, or beauty doesn't have to shout. We're going to get into the text and these associations later on. So the image I'm going to use throughout is this bullseye. We have our target in the middle. They need to buy. They need to think about buying. And now I've already shown you two different ways. For example, targeting an extrovert or an introvert. And some of the associations that you may use expressed through images or words in order to reach that point more effectively. Now the question is, of course, what about your content? Like this one. What is the target audience? What will the average person think? What will the different segments think? When they see this, we have cozy moments. Who's that better for? Maybe an introvert? How about this one? The time to celebrate. And is there congruence throughout? So if you choose to do to do cozy here, is that reflected in the whole story? Or would an introvert person feel lost if the next sentence is, now it's time to celebrate? My point here is, in the end, we're dealing with someone in front of the computer who is, well, not an advanced machine, so to say. He is how God made him. He is very much basic. And you're going to see throughout how much that is true. And I also want to always point out the shower is capturing everything that I'm going to say. So please keep thinking about being under the shower. So why personalize? Because it works. It is more effective. Now let's start with these fundamentals. What makes this Neanderthal and all the other people around us similar? Well, we all know the Maslow pyramid of needs. In fact, who doesn't know this pyramid? No one. Fantastic. So it's a very interesting one. You can see physiological needs. You need to have sustenance. You need security, and you kind of go up, and they become more and more lofty. It's really like going up to a mountain above the clouds. Interestingly, brand building usually happens from the top down, right? Coca-Cola is not telling you this is a fizzy drink that will quench your thirst. They're telling you this will give you friendship, right? So it's very much going from the top down. Nowadays, of course, it's quite incomplete, because what you need for all of that, it's the internet. You need to be connected. Even worse, of course, you need the battery to sustain the internet to be connected. But we're talking about this combination of psychology and behavioral economics. And for websites, there's some fundamental things that our brains do that are very important to remember. One is what Amazon is doing. I just did this today. You can see great flat TV, and what you can see down here is that they have a list price. This is called price anchoring. So the first price that I see is going to be quite high, and now you can see, well, their price, 40% savings, great. So they define the rules, they define the high price, and then the actual price. Whereas you can find the same TV cheaper on other platforms without this at all. But it now seems cheaper because you've done this price anchoring. Very effective. You can have items on your shopping website which are pure decoys that are very expensive, but that make everything else seem rather cheap. So you don't want people to buy it, but having it on the website will make other things appear like a better deal. The other thing, which is very, very important if you talk about people abandoning their cart, is the need to complete. So what does Amazon do when they show this? They give me the path to success. And everything being equal, humans love to complete things. They want to solve the puzzle. They want to make this complete. Something like this, you're like, I wish I could just put that piece in. And it's the same with humans. So if you give them a task, they do want to complete it. So definitely try to visualize it, help them to fulfill that need. And lastly, even though there are many more, this one, you search for something and it tells you, well, this one is really popular, many people have booked it. The need here, or the fundamental construct behind it, is loss aversion. So you don't want to miss out. The fear of missing out is a very powerful trigger, even though one could argue whether or not these numbers are in fact accurate. What happens, nevertheless, is that our system thinks, well, I need to act fast, I really need to get this. You can read many more of those, because we don't have time to go over all of them, here at digitalpsychology.io. All about these, very, very interesting read, very practical for what you're trying to achieve.